Welcome back. It is almost Mabon. So typically I celebrate the holidays on the calendar day. I know some people like to adjust it for like the astrological official day. That varies year to year. But for me, as of recording this, Mabon is in like 2 days. So I figured it was high time to talk about my plans for the upcoming holiday. A brief note if you are new to witching and stuff, Mabon is typically celebrated as the second harvest, so for a lot of witches this is when you would do like the fruits. So like apples and berries and things like that, a lot of witches tend to focus on that being like the food center of the harvest. And I think that's because a lot of like the apple trees are typically, I guess, maybe being a thing. But here, the fruit trees that we have around have already been done for months. Like we get our like fruit trees are done in like May, June-ish. So like it feels weird to be having it be like a fruit holiday personally, but a lot of people like to do that. And also a lot of people will look at this as the witches' Thanksgiving, and I do kind of go with that a little bit. I love to do a feast. And then also a big emphasis for this holiday is on balance. This is the day we have twice a year where day and night are equal. From this point forward, it will be getting darker. We've already really started to notice it at this point, but now the days are going to be less light and more dark, leading up to the winter solstice, which will be all the darkness. So we're getting closer to that time of the year. Most places I think are starting to notice it, at least here in Utah. It's getting colder, it's not getting as hot. We're getting a little bit more of the chill in the like early morning. It's not quite enough to like pull like your hoses and stuff in for the year, but you're starting to get the preparations for winter. So my plans for Mabon this year. So first, I mentioned this earlier, but I am planning to do a little feast. Now I say little because I kind of forgot how quickly Mabon was coming, so I didn't plan accordingly. And so I do not have a lot of ingredients for a large feast, but I think that's totally fine. You don't always have to do a big major thing. So I'm using what I've got around. So like we have a roast that my dad had given us from, I think it was an elk they had gotten at some point. The family does hunting. We get some of the leftovers because it usually get a lot of meat. So we have some of that I'll probably end up cooking. I'm also gonna make a stew of sorts. I plan to make like a potato vegetable stew where it's a lot of vegetables like potatoes, carrots, because I have a lot of carrots I need to cook as well, and like corn, peas, stuff like that. Mix it all in a big pot, let it simmer for a long time, and have a lovely soup. And then I am also planning to make like some rolls. I usually use our family recipe for rolls, and then I'm probably gonna do some kind of a dessert. Thinking of like an apple crumble, because I do like the idea of apples for this time of the year and the connection that it has. I put apples at both. So for me, like, I love to work with the Norse deities, mentioned this 1,000 times. And so for the equinoxes, it's kind of the two polar deities in a way. Not exactly polar, but kind of. So at the spring equinox is when we honor Adun, who is, obviously, if you know the myths, she is associated with the immortality apples. And then at the autumn equinox, Mabon, work with Hel, who is the ruler of the like underworld for the Norse, where pretty much all of the dead go, minus those that are the warriors hand-selected by Odin and Freya. She gets everybody else. So I feel like that like otherworldly bit of apples applies to both. So I'm gonna make an apple crumble. And then we have some lovely special drinks. We have some apple cider, and we also, it doesn't really make a difference, but the Swiss Mix hot chocolate, they have a pumpkin spice variation. I'd never had it before, so I got 2 boxes. It tastes like hot chocolate, but you have like the hint of pumpkin spice afterwards. Not while you're drinking it, just after. So we'll probably have some of that. Definitely going to be doing a fire after dinner and just enjoying the cooler months, because in the summer, trying to do a fire, it takes so long to get dark. We're very early to bed people, because we get up super early. So like staying up really late is just not really in the cards. We could sometimes do it on the weekends, but like it just messes up your sleep schedule a lot. So in the autumn, it's nice because it's not freezing cold, but yet it's starting to get quite dark. So I do plan to do a fire. And then of course we have a specialty like ritual drink of the sparkling cider. I don't really drink alcohol that much, so I only have like an alcoholic specific beverage once a year for a holiday, and that is at Samhain, and that is a limited supply thing because one of my ancestors had made wine and I inherited a few bottles of it, so we drink one of those and they vary in size. But I mean, we've got some that are like this big around of a bottle and like this tall. Like there's not a whole lot of alcohol in there, but we usually split a bottle of that at Samhain when we are like sitting around the campfire. So for this holiday, I have some sparkling cider that we'll probably be drinking as part of our ritual drink, and then having our special drink with like the apple cider, like the little mix you get and you put hot water with, probably have that with dinner. Another thing I mentioned is the deity that I'll be working with, which is more likely than not going to be Hel. The other option would be like Caradwyn, but I'm really just kind of leaning towards Hel. It is her time of the year, and I know it's like not the traditional option because typically Hel is going to be one of the deities that people associate with Samhain. I just have never felt the need. She just doesn't really match it. Like she does, but also death happens all the time. So, like, for me, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense to, like, force her into that role when she does more than just that. And I love the idea of her being equal life and death. And I think the holiday that we're leading into the dark time of the year is the most appropriate for her. So I'll probably do something to honor her. Might set up the altar with her in mind. And then if I want to choose some other ones, I might. But I think she's going to be kind of one of the main ones for my specific, like, seasonal offerings and remembering and like focus for the next, you know, whatever, like 6 weeks or something. That is the holiday. And it's kind of an ish because, let's be honest, the line between having Mabon be its own thing and Samhain taking over, it gets real blurry on October 1st because the world, especially here in the US, it's time for Halloween. Everywhere you look is Halloween. It is the month of Halloween. So like, this is just like a couple, like a little bit less than 2 weeks of like really Mabon centric, and then we just move into Halloween for decorations and the spooky, which is also why I think it's appropriate for Hel, because we can focus on the death and the life simultaneously with like the decorations leading up to Halloween. As with Mabon being the time of balance, that's one of the things I'm really focusing on, is trying to create some balance in my life. I'm not great at that. I tend to hyper-focus into projects and just be like, oh, I'm gonna do this, and then everything else falls to the wayside. So I'm trying to not do that. I'm trying to find some balance in all of the things that I'm doing, and of course, not everyone has that luxury. It is definitely a luxury to have, but that's what I'm doing this year. And I say that it's a luxury because I don't work a traditional job. This and writing is my job, so I can do it kind of whenever I set my schedule. And sometimes I get a little zealous with my schedule, and then I inevitably have bits and pieces of life fall apart. So I've had to kind of really evaluate the balance that I need in my day, because obviously trying to write 6,000 words a day is a little rough. That's roughly about like 6 chapters. I usually aim for 1,000 words each. That takes me about 6 hours at least. And also trying to read a book pretty much every day. And like, again, all the work that I do just takes so much time that I have to find a little more balance. So like, I'm starting to implement a few of these things, and I'm trying it out a little bit better, of like only recording like 2 videos a day, and that's it, so that I have time to do other things. Only writing 3 chapters a day. And then also setting time aside, no matter what, like early in the day, of like taking care of my physical body, so like exercising, and then also family time, so like spending some time in the afternoon with my hubby, going through a variety of games that he grew up on. And I rage quit if I can't figure out what I'm doing, so he has to know the game inside and out, which he does because it's his hyper focus. But like, spending that time with him, like, that's his love language, and it works out well for me because I don't have the patience to figure it out, and he just knows it. And he knows where to find the answers if he doesn't, like, really quick. Like for example, which is ironic because for the nerds out there, so specifically Nintendo nerds, we started playing through the Paper Mario series, and I went through the first one, and then we started on the second one. We had to pull out his old GameCube, got it all booted up. I'm like almost at the end. I'm on, I think, chapter 7 of it, which not every game has chapters, but Paper Mario used to have chapters. And so I'm working through 1000-Year Door of Paper Mario, and then I'm like almost at the end, and then Nintendo comes out with their Direct, and they're like, hey, did you know that we're gonna make a remaster of this one? And you're like, what? So yeah, the game that I'm playing through, I'm gonna play through it again next year. So like, maybe that run through, I won't need his help, but also there's certain spots that like I can't get through, and sometimes I just have to hand it over to my husband and be like, fix it, I can't do it. Like there's like certain jumps and things that I just suck so much, and like I'll try for about 35 times, and then when Mario's gonna die, because I cannot jump over water, he helps me to deal with that. That's the joy of marrying a nerd. So anyways, I don't know what the point of that, oh, the point of that tangent was that my hubby and I are spending more time together, and then also like spending time, like me and my mom go for a walk every morning, just making the time to spend with family, and like just trying to find more balance overall in life. So that is one of the big things for Mabon this year, is just balancing out all of the things that I want to do and making sure I do a little bit of them every day-ish. Weekends are a hit or miss. That's usually when I reserve for like errands and like random crap I have to do. But during the week, that's what I'm trying to find some balance with. And then the last thing that I'm going to be focusing on for Mabon this year, I think it's one that we kind of have, but kind of not. Everyone sort of puts this one a little differently. But to me, Mabon is a really good time to work on the home. And like specifically, again, it's kind of the flip-flop, where in the autumn, we focus on the inside, getting prepped and ready for going into the house. And in the spring, that's when it's like, I want to go outside. I want to start working on the yard. And you start like, you know, if it's not under a bunch of snow as it was last year, typically, you can start like getting some of the old weeds from the last year. And like, you might start, depending on where you live, you might be able to start bringing like some of your like summer stuff out. But at the very least, we usually will start weeding and like getting the flower beds and stuff ready for the spring. And then when Beltane comes around is when we actually get to plant. But we kind of get started on the outside projects. And in the autumn, it's kind of the opposite. We're wrapping those up and getting ready for winter. Usually it's after Samhain that like a lot of the stuff comes in. We have a tendency to do it too early, so waiting till after Samhain this year. But like starting to prep the home to be inside for many months. Because in the winter, the only time I go outside is to shovel. Otherwise, I don't really. I'll entertain my dog for a bit, but that's about it. And like, even then, like she doesn't want to go for walks. Her feet get cold even with her little booties on. She gets cold. And like, there's not a lot of smells for her, so she gets bored. And like, she will actively be like, we can go home now, Mom. We're like halfway through our usual, like one of the areas I walk has like kind of a loop. So we just do that a few times. And normally she's very entertained with it. But in the winter, absolutely not. So she'll like get like maybe a fourth to half of the way and be like, nope, we can go home. And like actively pulls me back to the car. So in the winter, I don't really plan a whole lot of like outdoor activities other than like fetch with her a little bit. And even then, she usually just likes to lay outside and just be a weirdo and get like snowballs all up in her fur and then come in and get it everywhere. And that's her idea of fun, I guess. So when we're stuck in the house forever, like I want to have the house ready for that. So that means some of the yearly cleaning that you need to do, especially while it's still warm enough outside. So like, you know, if you need to clean your windows, spray for bugs, because the creepy crawlies are going to be trying to get in soon, now that it's getting cold. And so just a lot of like cleaning of the house and just getting it prepped and ready. You know, wash your sheets if you haven't done it since like summer, because not everyone washes their sheets every week or every month. But like, if you forgot to do it for a while, here's your reminder during this season, maybe wash your bedding, like all of the bits and pieces. You know, just little things. Make sure you dust like the random spots of your house, like on top of your door, because like most people don't think about that, but that collects a lot of dust and like the little nooks and crannies and stuff. Just getting the house cleaned and ready to be stuck inside for months and months and months and months and months. And also it's a really good time when you're pulling out all of like your Halloween decor. It's a great way to like clean that area so that when you bring out your Yule decor, you also can do that same thing, and it's a little bit easier, a little more managed, because that's like the last spot you have to clean. So anyways, that's my plans for Mabon. And again, I usually focus on this more as a season versus a day. Some people, they just celebrate it for a day and that's it. I do it for the whole season. And of course it's gonna kind of transition into Halloween anyways, but try and keep a little bit of the focus, even though decor-wise, we're totally gonna move into Halloween very soon. It's already happening. I have a lot of decor up. But anyways, I would love to hear what your plans are for Mabon this year in the comments down below or as a video response. As always, a huge thank you to my patrons. I'll have their names over here if you would like to support me and get access to exclusive content. It is patreon.com/nightwillowcrafts. Make sure to like and subscribe. I post every single day. And until next time, thank you so much for watching, and blessed be.